this evening. This is the meeting of the full council on this day, Tuesday, the 14th of February. I would like to start, please. Okay.
Didn't ask how you moved.
Okay. Okay, I would just like to start, please, with the first item on the agenda, which is number 1. Apologies for absence. Do we have any this evening?
We have apologies from you councillors Alex, Buckley, Hooper and Romans.
Okay, thank you. I would just actually first like to address councillors this evening about the sad resignation of Donna Crook, our colleague. It's been a pretty difficult time for me as well because, as you know, Donna was my deputy mayor, and I haven't been able to help her in this time, quite frankly, and that's been hard for me. Donna has been a fabulous, not only a fabulous councillor, but a very dear colleague, and she's been very supportive of me during my mayorship, and I'll very much miss her over the next few months, the few months that I have left. Let's look at some of Donna's achievements though. Like me, Donna started out as a community champion, and she was championing the buses when that service was actually taken away by Oxfordshire County Council, and that's how she got involved in the town council. And she was successful in that bid because we listened and we got the bus service restored, and it's still operating today. And then of course she was successfully elected to the council and went on to be chair of Recreation Amenity and as deputy mayor, and also as deputy chair of the subgroup responsible for the adventure golf, which we know has been hugely successful for the town. So, Councillor Donna can be very pleased with what she's done, with what she's achieved, and I'll miss her. She actually was very close to my side when our longest serving monarch died, passed away, and it was not the consort that was there beside me, it was actually Donna. And I'll be forever thankful for that. She was so strong at that time. So I do hope that by the time the King has his coronation, that we'll be able to be in her company again, albeit in a different capacity. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, councillors. Yes, Councillor.
I just wanted to add as well that she was good in that she was not political at town level, and she made friends across the councillors regardless of their political background, which is lovely.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, let's move on to item number 2, which is declarations of interest. Do we have any this evening? No, I see none. Thank you. So let's move on to number 3, which is public participation, and I see that we have some members of the Headley Town in the audience this evening. Would you like to stand and give us your name if you'd like to speak?
Yes.
Yes. If you'd just like to state your name and that you're from Henley.
My name's Amanda Tunis. I'm speaking on behalf of the campaign to stop huge HV rooms using Henley's through corridor.
Okay, thank you.
I understand as well that David will be speaking by Zoom tonight. Yeah,
I think that's still the case, yes.
Okay, last night I sent to councillors, and I hope you all got it, a summary of my concerns on behalf of the campaign, and in it contained a link to a web book which I have compiled, showing a selection from the gallery of photographs that our supporters have been compiling over the last 2 years, which have been uploaded to OCC. Has anybody not seen that? I've got a few hard copies here that I can pass around. We'll have a look at it, and you've all seen. I hope you'll share my concern. My concern in starting the campaign was originated purely by the concern for pedestrian safety. What I see daily from my house. Why do they come here? They come here to use the town as a cut through because we have the bridge. go from the M4 to the A34 and vice versa. And it probably saves them about 20 minutes. It was doubtful it saves them much in the way of fuel. But far from obtaining a protected environmental weight limit, David and I now both fear that we are going to be faced with a fait accompli shortly, with Henley being declared a recommended HGV route right through the centre of it. And that is part and parcel of LTCP5. Now, we hope we're wrong, but the way LTCP5 consultation has been unfolding, lack of transparency, I think you agree, Stefan, that's probably a bit of an understatement, but I'm not going to elaborate on that here. I will happily talk to any of you face to face and explain why we are so concerned. Even yesterday, Joe Kay of OCC, with whom I've been in dialogue, was unable to say when HTC might be able to make representations of its case. But the only thing he reiterated was he expects the Atkins decision and recommendations to be done and dusted by the end of April. I find that a very short timescale. They were appointed in November, and how can they take proper soundings, do the proper investigations, talk to all of the stakeholders involved? And we've also been told as a member of the campaign that the campaign can't have any dialogue with Atkins, only through HTC, which hardly seems democratic, given that they are the circumstance of the HTV industry. So what we are, well, the reason I'm here is really to impress on the council a sense of urgency. I know, Stefan, that you're waiting for clarity as well, but we think that you need to employ your own independent highways consultant to make a robust case on behalf of HTC. And you will not be able to do that if you're only told at the very last minute that you've got a 3-week window, because where can you find a professional that's worth their salt just to turn on a sixpence and take your case? You can't unless you've actually prepared in advance. There are significant grounds in addition to safety. David will talk to you about air pollution, vibration damage to our listed building, dangers, the damage to our roads and pavements, even after being remetalled and the repairs outside Savills, you can see the damage coming again, and that's only been done this year. Nighttime movements causing disturbance to residents' sleep, and also what does it do to the community, the amenity value of this town if we've got huge, and I'm talking about the huge ones, not the 20-ton ones, I'm talking about the 44-ton ones, the ones that can't navigate through our town without either swinging into the path of the oncoming traffic and therefore bringing everything to a standstill and potentially creating a major hazard, or alternatively going over our pavements, either with their cabs, which then go right up the building, or alternatively back wheels and trailers straight over the curb. You can see that in Henley all over the place, not just in Dartford. So I'm here to admonish you, please, and urge you to really get a grip on this case. Otherwise, we do fear that we will get a fait accompli, and this will be, you know, something that we won't be able to remedy after. And if we become formalized as a bypass for the M4, it's what we're actually tacitly having now, which is why, as you could see from that, a lot of those vehicles are international vehicles. This is not local traffic. You've got containers, you've got stuff from Portugal, you've got stuff from Poland, you've got international freight. It's not local delivery. No objection to what is coming here to deliver. Understand that. But it's the large stuff that is just coming through the town because it's a shortcut. It's a valuable shortcut to them. They ought to stay on the strategic road network. And we need the support of this council and Oxfordshire Highways Department to get that. Okay?
Thank you. Do
Thank
you have any?
Can I just say in closing, in my note, I proposed 3 questions, and I've got a copy of it here, that I would like the Henley Town Council formally to address the Oxfordshire Highways Department. Because David and I have posed those questions on several times, each of us separately, and we've never got a straight answer.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to address this, Mr. Chairman?
Maybe I'll address, yes, I will, I will.
Well, actually, before you
Is
do
there-
that, actually,
David Dickinson
I just want to say that, should we bring David in this point?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And you. Thank you for listening to me.
Oh, you're very welcome. David Dickey, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
We can hear you. If you would
Can
just
you,
like,
can you hear me? Because I didn't hear that very clearly.
if you could just state your name, and then you've got 2 to 3 minutes whenever you're ready.
Yeah, my name's David Dickey. I live in St Catherine's Road, Henley. I think most people know me. Yes, I mean, I've worked closely with Amanda on this subject. And as I deal with Oxford County Council, I feel they keep just dismissing us rather than are listening to us. And I don't feel any of our points are going to be dealt with, and there's no signal that they're going to be dealt with and discussed properly. My examples of this are, first of all, the petition, which raised 2,500 signatures. I think it's been pushed to one side as NIMBYism. I do think that something like Henley Town Council telling Oxford County Council you still see that is a valid exercise and you support the town in terms of its request to have a 7.5 ton limit is a fair thing to do. So that's one thing I would recommend. The second thing is, well, on air quality, I mean, I think they're not discussing it at all. It's interesting that today the UK government has announced that it's failing to meet its PM 2.5 and PM targets, and that they've delayed when they're going to meet them. So we need less diesel going through our town rather than more, which is what a new freight plan would bring. The first concern I had when I started getting involved was there was a freight map already in place, and on it, on Henley Bridge, was a black cross and the words "not suitable for heavy vehicles." The start of this exercise, that cross has been removed. I have 2-3 times asked why was it removed to start with. I have not yet got a reply. What worries me is that by taking it clear, the hauliers can just say, this is what we want to go through. To have had the cross on there, the hauliers would have had to say why they wanted it removed, which would have been a very interesting exercise. But we have now got to fight to get it back on if we want it. So I don't know the way that is being done. And I suppose that's the key reason why I've got very agitated. The final thing is, and as I've walked around the town thinking about this, I mean, I think the key thing is safety. It really came to my mind when I tripped on the Savills Corner, which is all broken up by the HGVs, and fell out into the road. Not seriously injured. A few people were a bit disappointed with that, but there you go. But getting older makes you realise how vulnerable one is in walking around the town. And huge HGVs are a frightening beast down Bell Street. You walk down some of the narrow points there, these vehicles should just not be there. I think Amanda's produced a brilliant booklet. I urge you all to look at the pictures. I think it does speak volumes for itself. But I've also, having been introduced and talked by phone to this consultant, I think we should take the initiative on this one rather than being on a back foot and have a safety statement by an expert to put in front of OCC, because they're dismissing everything we say because we're just laymen. And I'm really getting a bit more upset about that. Thank you for listening. And I hope you can take, I know there are other meetings with Stefan coming up in the next few days, and we will fight hard to get Henley what it deserves and preservation of our beautiful market town. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay on the line, David, because you may have some questions from councillors.
Yep.
Would you like to speak first, Councillor Ganshaw?
Yes. Well, firstly, Amanda and David, if you can hear me, yeah, I mean, we're all in on this together. And yes, I agree with everything you've done, and David, I agree with everything you've done as well. It is to say on the 23rd of February, we're having another transport strategy meeting, which is at 4 p.m, in which we will be discussing all of these things. In my Oxfordshire Council report, which I circulated to councillors, but it hasn't gone out on the Town Council website, I absolutely agreed with you. I have been, I mean, I quoted this Oxfordshire have appointed Atkins as their lead consultant regarding the zonal HGV 18-ton limit. I have continually emailed and lobbied officers at OCT for some traction and movement, almost to the point of boring myself. You know, every email you write, I write, and it goes around in circles. The Atkins report, which are the consultants that are doing it, were actually appointed 12 months ago. And it's only now that they're about, maybe, to consult with parishes. And we still haven't got, sorry, this was penciled in 12 months ago, and we still haven't got a final consultation structure. All right. I've asked a series of questions, re the lack of transparency. It's actually the transparency. What I've been asking are these. I mean, it's the actual lack of transparency in the process that troubles me, and is the reason for my email, because Atkins must take into account the historic buildings and street layouts. That's an obvious thing. I haven't had an answer. Dangerous turns in Henley, e.g. Bell Street, and the photographs, I haven't had an answer. Narrow pavements, I haven't had an answer. Pedestrians' perception and actual fear of lorries whizzing past them. So you're walking along a narrow pavement, a lorry whizzes past you. It's going to induce fear in you. Air quality, which is David's specialist subject, and the fact that we want Henley to be a walking and cycling town. Yes, having transport going through, but not with the huge lorries. Now, the latest promise is that Atkins are doing ANPR surveys and they are looking at the data at the moment. And in early March, they are going to begin consulting with the parishes in order for them to create a report in April.
Yeah.
Which seems absolutely and utterly stupid. And again, it comes back to the transparency. And I have spoken to Councillor Duncan Enright, who's the Cabinet Portfolio Holder at OCC. In fact, I was talking to him today about this very thing. That because we haven't got transparency, we don't know whether the history, the pavements, the narrow roads are going to be taken into account at all. Or is it just going to be lorries need to move from there to there, tough, you're in the middle, so stick it. And that is exactly where we're at the moment. The only thing we can do is, well, I still think the idea is we've got to wait for the parameters to come out of Oxfordshire, and that will be discussed at the meeting on the 23rd of February. Okay, thank you.
Can I just make an interjection?
Would councillors like to hear further, or would you like to actually have some, do you have some questions or comments? All right, okay, let's start with councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've just got a comment on the accidents that we've had in the past, and I think it's helpful because unfortunately they want to see evidence of fatalities or serious accidents before action tends to get taken. And we have had that, certainly on Hart Street. There are two to my memory that have been there. And I know they were featured prominently at the time in the Henley Standards. So the Henley Standards listening into this, if they could produce that evidence, and because that needs to go forward to anybody at OCC to show that, yes, there is a history of danger within the town and not just Hart Street, actually. So that's all I would say. I think that would help.
Okay, thank you. Yes, councillor White.
I'd like to congratulate the work that Amanda Chumas, David Dickey, and have in recent years been putting to highlight the issue of traffic HGVs and the risks they pose and the dangers they pose in Henley and how inappropriate they are. I'd just like to remind people that in 2002, Henley was declared, 10 streets in Henley were declared an air quality management area. They have unlawful levels, dangerous levels of nitrogen dioxide and particulates. We do have, and as a result, these are measured. And DEFRA calculates that across England, 46,000 people die every year prematurely, not in Henley, but in England, directly from air pollution. It contributes to their early deaths. My calculation is that's about 9 people in Henley every year die as a result of air pollution. And there are very strong legal requirements on district councils in particular to work with the High Risk Authority to make sure that air quality management areas, where they're declared, have a plan in order to address the issues at the levels of pollution and make sure that they are set below that level. And very little has been done to achieve that. There's been a plan in that time. There's been very little practical differences made to the town to reduce the levels of pollution and to make sure that the air quality here is below legal. The air quality is sufficiently good, but the levels of nitrogen dioxide in particular and PM2.5s are below the legal limits, which are set, and they do have obligations to do that. And that may well be the way in which we can apply legal pressure to the district council and the county council as the highways authority to make sure that their plans include the reduction of HGVs, which contributes to about 1/3 of the pollution in the town.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Alison.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would also like to thank you for your persistence in this case, and for dealing with things called LTPC5 and all the legal jargon that goes with it. And I'd also like to thank David, if he's still on, in terms of the all the work he's done on air pollution, which has been very significant, and all the signs and all the education he's done on that front. It is clear there is a monologue going on with OCC rather than a dialogue. And if I think back 6 years, Ian Hudspeth used to come down here very regularly, and he used to talk to us about what was going on and whether what could be done and what couldn't be done. And it's clear from what I can hear that we need to displace those lorries back to the Marlow bypass. And rather than just go down the one route, which is the route you've taken of banning lorries, which I agree with and support, I think the traffic advisory group, or whatever you want to call it, traffic transport strategy group, need to go back to the route of displacing the traffic back. And that, sorry, I've said it for the past 6 years, means displacing the traffic at the Birches Green roundabout back onto the Marlow bypass. And if the signs were going back up there to try and get lorries to go back to the Marlow bypass, some of them might not come through Henley. I also think we need to go back to the traffic authorities that do sat-navs and educate the trade organisations to see if we can get them to displace some of the lorries back to the Marlow bypass. So let's go with a 3-in-1 route rather than going with the single route of trying to get OCC to ban lorries, because I don't see they will do it until there is a third crossing in Reading.
Thank you. Councillor Clark, yes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to point out if you had a 40-ton lorry coming into Henley, one road, if you want to get that 40-ton lorry off the road, you need 8 7.5 tons to carry that one load.
Councillor
So
Clark,
that is going to cause more pollution than everything else in this town.
Councillor Clark, we're not talking about lorries that are delivering in Henley. They're not included in this. Okay? We're talking about lorries passing through and not having any business in Henley.
But my point out, that is a road, it's a trunk road.
It's not a trunk road.
It is a trunk road.
Thank you. I'll sit down.
Sorry,
Yes.
can I make one?
Councillor Gabb, one more, because I really need to move on.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what I wanted. The proper place for this debate is in the transport strategy group. And there's the meeting on the 23rd. The transport strategy group feeds into planning, and planning can debate it, and then it feeds into the full council next to it. That is the proper place to discuss all of these issues, including keeping lorries on the truck roads and making sure that they don't come through there. And you're absolutely right. It's all about stopping the through lorries. Anything that delivers into Henley would still be welcome. But we've got to bear in mind that this is Oxfordshire's zonal freight strategy, and we can do nothing until Oxfordshire County Council speak. That is the point. unless, until Oxfordshire County Council said X, Y, and Z for us to talk about, then we are stuffed at that point. So there is a way to get to be as well as. But we've got the meeting on the 23rd, we will discuss this.
What time is the
Thank you,
meeting?
Mayor. 4 p.m.
Right, I'll try and come along with that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I'm late.
It's mandatory.
Public participation and-
Yes, you're welcome. Every councillor is welcome to come and serve.
All right, thank you. So thank you so much for coming along. Okay, we've got item number 4, which is to approve the minutes. Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
Participation. Ask a question, please. I wish to, if I may,
We have, well, what's it
it's
regarding?
regarding public participation. I wish to
It's
speak.
regarding public participation.
Yeah, I'd like to, in the same way as a question has been raised, I'd like to raise something as a member of the public, if I might, to you, Madam Mayor, regarding the town.
Well,
Yeah. Madam Mayor, it is always sad to lose people. And it is always sad when we lose young people. And I think it's right that we should minute and ask you, Madam Mayor, to write to the families of Sammy Phillips, 19-year-old, who sadly died by hitting a tree on the Fairmont or up the Bix, and also very sadly Tim Senior, 51, who was a rower at Upper Thames Rowing Club, who sadly died on Saturday. I would ask that you write to those families a letter of condolence on behalf of all councillors, because these two people sadly have gone far before they should have.
thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Peterson.
I completely disagree. You're going to write a letter for everybody that dies sadly in Henley, because there are thousands every year. It's very sad. I completely agree with you. They didn't die inside Henley, and I'm really, really sorry that they've died, just like every other person that we lose in Henley every year. But it's absolutely crazy to write a letter of condolence every single time. There have been several people that have died since you've been mayor. Are you going to backdate it all for the beginning of the year?
Yeah, thank you. Right, let's move on, councillors. Item number 4, please, to approve the minutes of the full council meeting held on the 3rd of January. Do I have a seconder?
I came in to add to the debate we just had. I thought there would be a chance.
Have you got any different points to make than we've already heard?
Not substantial. I'd like to add, I'm a new resident in Henley and would like to give a very brief.
Do you have any different points to make than have already been made by the lady and the gentleman?
Yes, slightly, I believe, yes.
Okay, 1 minute, please.
Okay, my name's Adrian Gregory. We moved in August. We're on the junction of Bell Street and New Street. We didn't move in unaware that there was traffic going through the town, and indeed we're thoroughly enjoying living here. But there were three points I made. Firstly is when the heavy lorries do come through, there is a physical vibration. You can feel the house, which is of course a listed building, shake. The second is I've done quite a lot of filming from my window of that junction every now and again, half an hour at a time. There's an average of 5 to 6 40-ton lorries each half hour. That's probably about 100 per day. I don't know if any studies have been done to actually log the number of extra large vehicles, but 100 a day, if it's that sort of amount, is an extreme amount. The second thing is living where the final thing rather, living where I live, you can see the path of the large lorries. I've seen often people having to sway back because the bulk of the lorry goes right over the pavement. People are swaying back or having to stop their walking while the lorry goes round. There just is not room. They don't all go on their curb, although some do, but there is no room for a lorry of that size to get round without swaying right into the path of the pedestrians. The lady said that nothing will be done until there is an accident. It strikes me, having looked out the window for quite a long time, that it's inevitable that at some point there will be an incident.
Thank you. We have seen pictures of what you're actually describing, so thank you for your contribution. Okay, item number 4, I'm lucky to approve the minutes of the full council meeting held on the 3rd of January. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hampton, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Item number 5, reports of committees. Receive and note the minutes and notes of the council committees. I'll start with planning. If you please turn to page 9 of your agendas. I hereby present the minutes of the planning committee held on Tuesday, the 10th of January. Item 149, apologies for absence. Item 150, declarations of interest. Councillor Hinton, sorry, did you have something to say?
No, only to step up, so we were just sorting out district. We haven't had a written report there.
Okay, thank you. If you just try and be quieter because I'm trying to concentrate here. Item 151, minutes, 152, public participation, 153, plans amended, 154, plans new. And if we turn to page 11, 155, objections, calling applications, 156, decision notices, and 157, certificates of lawful applications. And over the page, on page 12, 158, governmental statement on planning system, and 159, progress report and applications called in. I do so move. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. And turning to page 13, I hereby present the minutes of the meeting of the planning committee held on Tuesday, the 31st of January. Item 160, apology for absence. 161, declarations of interest. 162, minutes. 163, public participation. 164, plans amended. 165, plans new. And over the page, please. Page 16, 166, objections, calling applications. 167, decision notices. 168, certificate of lawful development. 169, prior approval and notification. 170, government planning consultation. And 171, progress report for applications called in. And 172, progress report. I do so move. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. I hereby call on Councillor Kelly Hinton to give the minutes of the Recreation and Communities Committee held on Tuesday, the 10th of January.
Okay, this meeting was chaired by Councillor Crick. 46, apologies for absence. 47, declaration of interest. 48, public participation. 49, minutes. 50, progress. 51, finance. 52, Fairmont Burgess. 53, LED lighting at Jubilee Park. 54, purchase of appliances. I so move.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton, do you have something to say? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. On purchase of appliances, there has been so much debate about this. I wanted to get an update from the town clerk regarding the cost of the dishwasher and all these fridges, etc. Finance be approved a figure, but you were going to go and look away and see whether it could be improved, because spending that kind of money on appliances when they're only used probably 8 times a year does seem awfully expensive.
Update or update the next round?
I believe the amount is still, I believe the picture is still the
No, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried.
I'll make one further point. Sorry. I'll
I'll
make one further point.
Councillor Hamilton, please sit down. Thank you.
Sorry, I think Councillor.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to call on please Councillor Glenn Lambert to present to the council the Town and Community Committee minutes of the 17th of January. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 48 apologies, 49 declarations of interest, 50 public participation, 51 minutes, 52 police, 53 CCTV, 54 communications manager update, 55 town centre manager update, 56 events subcommittee, 57 finances, 58 progress report. That's the move.
Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. I hereby call on Councillor Reisman to present the minutes of the Finance, Strategy and Management Committee held on the 24th of January.
I'd like to present the minutes of the meeting, Finance, Strategy and Management Committee held on the 24th of January. Item 63, apologies. Item 64, declarations of interest. Item 65, public participation. Item 66, minutes. Item 67, finance. Item 68, expenditure. Item 69, investment manager reports. Item 70, exclusion public and press. Item 71, legal updates. Item 72, AstroTurf banners. Item 73, red line lawn lighting. Item move.
Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 6, reports of other authorities. Now, we have actually received the county councillor report. Councillor Hinton, do you want to say anything about the district?
I
report?
just wanted to give an update on our community grants funding.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
okay.
Yes, of course.
So since the last round, which we updated at previous full council, there's nothing left in my budgets, don't apply to me, but money bags, Ken, and money bags, Stefan. Oh, they must have done it on this. So, we each allocated 500 to the Henley-on-Thames Debt Centre and the Life Skills Training Project. It goes with that, apart from Stefan, who donated 2,000 towards that. And the remainder of my budget, £3,200, went to Henley Music School.
Okay, thank you very much for letting us know. Will you be able to take question? Okay. Did you hear that? The town clerk accepts that in his opinion, councillors should be allowed to ask questions because the reports were late.
Yeah.
Happy to answer questions. Yes, Councillor Hamilton, please.
Thank you. Thank you, councillor Hinton, for giving us that update. Given councillor Arlott hasn't been present for the last 2 months, but has been in New Zealand, can we be assured that his money is going to be spent as well? Do you know?
Yes, so he's been able to make funding decisions from where he's located. We don't have to be in a room to make the decisions. We make them by email. We fill in the forms that we need to fill in after they've been verified and everything. So all he has to do is write an email to confirm that's all. So yes, he's made funding decisions whilst he's been away, and he's continued to attend meetings despite not being able to vote all the time. If there's a situation where a substitute is needed, such as planning, then sometimes Stefan's been able to substitute.
Sorry,
Yes,
I'll just add to that. All of our SOBC funding decisions have to be made by the 20th, which is in a week's time. All 3 of us have done it. They're really completed. Yes, I am substituting for Ken on SOBC planning. And I've attended 2 meetings and I've got another one to go next week. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Hillier.
Yeah, I would add councillor that does appear on screen at the planning meeting as well.
Very peaceful.
A substitute. So we have spoken at length on the opportunities, which was good. And yeah, and I do the grants actually for the surrounding villages as well. And I just phoned the officer and put in writing who the grants for, and they do the paperwork now if we haven't time. So I believe that's what Marla's done as well.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to reports of outside bodies. Do we have any this evening? No? Yes, Councillor Wiseman.
I'd like to report it's sort of an outside body in the sense that it's a health matter and therefore comes under the town steering group to some extent. But I think it'd be worth telling the council about a meeting I've invited to on Thursday, the rugby club, which was by an organisation rather strangely called Building Berkshire Together. But in fact, it's a project which is the redevelopment of Royal Berks Hospital. And I'd heard rumours for many years that Royal Berks were considering considerable changes to the services and the buildings that they used to deliver. But for the last 4 years, that project has been progressing, and it is now at outline business case stage. They're preparing that, and there are clear plans. This is a public consultation on the nature of the services currently provided at Royal Berks and whether they should, and in particular the location, whether or not they should be redeveloped on the site as is currently in Reading, or to a new site, or some combination of the two. And rather surprisingly, it is one of the 40 hospitals that's on this list that's been promised. I'd always assumed that was a Boris Johnson lie, but Royal Berks really is in amongst the 40. And there is a plan that is progressing. and it's something that we should keep our eye on. I have got a set of slides that were presented, and I'll pass them on. So if people are interested in seeing those slides.
Yes, I'm sorry, I couldn't make that meeting.
The current plan is that there is a time frame, which is that by 2025, between 2025 and 2030, the development will start and should then hopefully finish by 2030. These plans often don't take place, and of course, it will still require to be approved by the Treasury. So there are a lot of steps to go, but it was considerably further advanced than I'd expected this plan. And there was a large turnout from the NHS organisation who were involved in this project. I did say that the name was perhaps slightly wrong, because here we are in Oxfordshire, well and truly in the footprints of Royal Berks Hospital. It's the one that we tend to go to very often, especially in the John Radcliffe. And but I think they're probably stuck with the name now. But yeah, they are very keen. They were holding the consultation in the Henley constituency. They were doing all the constituencies they felt could be affected, and that this was ours. And there will be continued consultations over time.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on then to the next it's my favourite part of the meeting. Let's turn to page 27, which is mayoral engagement since last full council. Any queries at all? I was particularly pleased to go to Acacia Care Home after the visit was postponed, because traditionally go at Christmas. Because of the COVID outbreak, it was delayed, but I so enjoyed meeting the residents and the staff there. I was so glad I got to do it. I've still got to go to Chiltern End. Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, we'd like to see all the events you've attended, Madam Mayor, if I might. Given that we only have 6 weeks left of this council, are you intending to appoint another deputy mayor, or are you going to invite other councillors to attend on your behalf if you are not able to attend a particular event?
It's a good question. Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. So just to clarify, because would you like to say anything about this, or would you like me just to?
I can clarify that there, that whilst the council can, if it wants to, appoint a new deputy mayor, there's no obligation to do so. Also bearing in mind that purdah will begin in a little over a month.
So it's not my intention to appoint a deputy.
I just wouldn't want events not to be attended because there wasn't anyone available.
Yeah, there is only, so far, there is only one event that I can't make, and I will find a suitable alternative. Luckily, we have lots of single councillors here who have already been, the former mayors. So I'm.
You be my good self.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Well, we're all former mayors, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh,
So, we're very lucky in that regard.
had to, sorry, Annie.
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for coming to the Henley Herald Community Champion Awards, which was both a celebration of local volunteers and community activists, as well as 10-year anniversary of the Henley Herald. Not only that, but it was raising funds for Blue Bells Day Centre, and raised well over £2,000. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Well, thank you to Bluebells for coming to my Hen Policy Network launch. Okay, let's move on to item 9, which is the calendar for 2023-4. Now, I do believe that Councillor Reisman has proposed for us. Let's hear him.
Yeah, I'd like to propose that we accept approve the calendar for the next civic year with a couple of amendments. Firstly, there's been a bit of discussion, and the short planning meetings, or so-called short planning meetings, are set for 6:30, followed by a second meeting. And I'm going to suggest that the start time for that is changed to 7 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock, and those dates are the 30th of May, the 20th of June, the 29th of August, and so on. So those where there are 2 meetings in one night. Some councillors who, those who work in particular, can find it difficult, and those who've got families to arrive by 6:30. Evenings, days can get a bit rushed. So I think that does help. And meetings are a good deal shorter than they used to be a few years ago, I think, which also helps. And I think we're more businesslike about perhaps not talking too much and deciding more in a more effective way. The second thing I'd like to propose is on January the 2nd, there is a full council meeting. And in particular after the Christmas break, it's very difficult to pick things up for both officers and councillors the day after a bank holiday. January the 1st, of course, is bank holiday. So I'd like to propose that the meetings in January on the 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd and 30th are all pushed back 1 week, and the date of February the 6th is then occupied by the planning meeting that was previously on the 30th. So with those two amendments, I'd like to move that we approve as on the agenda.
Okay, I'd like to second that, thank you. Would any councillor like to speak to this? Councillor Lambert, you have.
Yes, I'd like to make another amendment, but it's not related to that, so we'll do that first.
Okay. Yes, councillor Lambert?
I'm pleased that I'm happy to support the amendments that have been put forward. I'm pleased that the town clerk has managed to not have us meet on February the 14th again, or to have us meet on the day of the regatta, which I always hope that all councillors will support. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, right, okay, yes. What's the-
The only suggestion I would make is it would mean the meeting, the planning committee meeting at the 9th of January would be on the 16th of January, meaning that there would be a break of over a month between planning committee meeting on the 12th of December and the 16th of January. Would it be possible for me to seek some advice from the deputy clerk? And if one is needed, potentially putting in a shorter planning committee meeting on the 2nd of January, if it is absolutely necessary.
Yes, councillor Riceman, did you want to address?
I would suggest that it said that we could switch around the planning and town community meeting. So planning would step out. We could switch around the I know because planning full council be the 9th, wouldn't it? So I wouldn't be possible. Yeah, I think town clerk suggestion is the same.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so my only other request was the August meeting. I don't know if you accept this amendment, councillor Riceman. The August meeting for planning, the one that's in the middle, so there's just 2 weeks between meetings. That be a reserve meeting like it was this last year. It may not be needed.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I'm fine that we know that. I mean, a meeting can always be not
It's a
full.
reserve meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but the intention would be that it's only if needed, which it may not be. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay. Do you want to do this now? Yeah.
Make another amendment that the town and community meeting on the 4th of July, which is on the 4th of July to avoid Henley Regatta, actually be moved to the vacant date on the 18th of July to avoid doubling up with finance.
How far did you have a comment about that?
The one thing I would say is that we will have probably, we don't know how many yet, we will have new councillors. It will be the start of a new council term, and the council and staff training sessions at the beginning of that term, I think, will be very important. And so I would be loath to lose one of those first sessions.
Yes, any observations about that, councillors? I'm sorry, councillor Lambert, I tend to agree with the town clerk.
Okay.
Do you? What about?
No, I don't agree.
councillors?
I agree with the town clerk. There you go.
The 18th of July.
I'll be some big houses on board. So there you go.
Steve?
Are you proposing it for us to vote on?
Sorry.
Did you propose for us to vote
I
on?
propose it as an amendment.
Oh, right.
Yes, there's an amendment, yeah. Councillor Whiteman, did you have any, as the proposer, do you have any observations about that point?
We could just, I mean, what sort of, that isn't one of the finance meetings which has grant applications, and finance meetings, again, so many further meetings have been shorter, so we could delay it to 7 o'clock if that helps. Are you worried about the start time, or are you worried about?
Well, it just struck me as unnecessary that we would double up meetings
Yeah.
when we have a vacant slot
Yeah.
2 weeks later.
Yeah, I think that the town clerk's point about training, I think, is is a sensible one. I think I've certainly benefited from the training, and I think the new councillors certainly will as well. So I'd rather leave the data available. We've already bumped off one of the training meetings, so I'll be against myself here a little bit.
Sure, councillor Lambert.
Sorry?
Are you sure?
I don't care enough.
We can always come back to this one, you know, when we do, when a town clerk comes back with a new schedule at the next meeting, we can always consider that again.
It would be better that it be approved, subject to those amendments, simply so that, because obviously there's not only do councillors need to get it in their diaries, but also officers do as well.
We've been
And-
a bit
and,
pretentious, aren't we, councillors?
No, I'm actually leaving because my dinner arrived 20 minutes ago and I've already committed to this council more than my family enough.
Oh,
So, sorry,
yes.
but you lot are tracking out, talking about dates for another council to attend,
Yeah,
and it's just not worth it for me.
yeah.
Good
Sorry.
debate, Kelly.
See you later.
Yeah.
Thank you, councillor Winston. Okay, right, let's. Right, listen, it's been,
I'm happy to go along with the request if Councillor prefers that we do that, because training can be arranged for a different night than Tuesday. Oh, no, am I going against?
You see, that's what, I think we've used fewer than half of our training days Australia. I think we could accommodate a chap personally.
councillor Hamilton.
I'll propose as is, as per the town clerk, without councillor Lambert's nomination amendment, and see if we get a second for that then. Come on, let's move on.
Yeah, so, listen, we've got a proposal, it's been seconded, I don't approve the amendment. Do you approve the amendment, councillor Riceman?
I'm happy that we vote on the amendment, so everyone gets a chance to give their point of view, so.
Okay, let's
we put
vote
this up-
on the amendment.
Yes, it is.
No, we're not core at that.
We are,
We need a seconder. You need a seconder.
we need a seconder for the amendment, please, a seconder for the amendment,
Well, yeah, I'll
yes?
second it so it can be debated.
Well,
Okay, well, we just.
I mean,
it's been, sorry, it's 15 votes.
And I'll speak if you want.
Yeah, okay,
I think we should leave it as is without the amendment. Sorry, forgive me, councillor Lambert. There can always be minor wiggles to a schedule, throughout the year. Let's get the amendments done, let's publish it. And then if we want to do minor wiggles, I like move a meeting from there to there, provided we tell the public a month in advance, etc., blah, 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 we can do it.
That's why I wanted to tell them several months ago.
Anyway,
Let's move it to vote.
yeah, let's put it to the vote then, all those in favour of councillor Lambert's amendment? All those against? Okay.
You need a proposal from the other.
Right, now we're voting on first, the one that councillor Riceman proposed and I seconded, all those in favour? Okay, that's carried, thank you. Councillor Lambert, I do wish you'd mentioned it before, we could have.
I only noticed it's out here now.
You don't always get your way.
I must have